Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wealth Wednesday. I took a little break from Wealth Wednesday for a little while because there were some changes that happened, and I had to, basically get the changes resolved, and then we could start Wealth Wednesday again. So today I'm joined by Wes Colbath, who is my business partner, and I wanted to have him on here because we recently started working together, and what I love about what we are doing is we both think strategically, but we both bring very different perspectives to the table. Obviously, for anybody who's been watching this, you know that I have owned medical practices, medical spas. So I bring that perspective into financial operational realities of what business owners are dealing with, especially in the medical space. Now, Wes obviously has his own financial planning background and experience and works with successful business owners too. So together, we're looking at the bigger picture from several different angles. And to me, that's super exciting. And that's partly why I switched over and wanted to work with Wes, and because of the more advanced strategies that we're able to bring to the table. And I love that. So Wes, welcome to your very first Wealth Wednesday. How are you today?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
So I know that your career didn't actually start in the financial world. So can you just tell everybody kind of what led you to this line of work?
Absolutely. So I actually started in more of a communications background, so educating people on public speaking, interpersonal communication. And what that gave me was a good background in being able to help people understand complex concepts and really how to also communicate with other people better. And basically that was dates back to when I was still living in Maine. So I moved to San Diego in 2014 and got right to work with AIG in life and retirement. And what I realized was that background had prepared me really well to go through different planning and different products and vehicles that people could use to make sure that they protected their family, their business, and their wealth. And it served me well to have those two backgrounds together.
Yeah, that's true. And then communication is such a big part of it. So I wanted to get into this line in the industry because I felt, because I was a doctor, a lot of people would talk to me about different vehicles and stuff. But to be honest, I don't think I ever really understood what they were talking to me about as well as I wanted to. So I wanted to be able to take what I learned in the financial space and then translate it to, other business owners so that they could actually make sense of it. So I think we're coming at this from completely different angles, which is something that I really like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we both appreciate as well is when you really are helping people with strategy and you're helping them solve problems, then it's really the products and the vehicles that are an afterthought because they only become applicable once you've really talked to people, about what they care about and what's going to help make their businesses run and what's going to help make sure that their business is not their only asset, as they get towards the end of their career.
100%. Because the other thing is that this is something we both see is that successful business owners, they can just become so focused on running the business that they kind of don't think about their own financial world. And, once I've seen it over and over again because they don't have the time to think through these things. And I think sometimes the disconnect is also because these things can be hard to understand. So what we like to do is really just start with a discovery call to find out what's important, because it's not a one size fits all strategy. We have to find out what that individual person wants. And there's so much nuance in what business owners want that there can't be a one size fits all solution. And for me in my medical space, when I was approached about something, it was kind of a one size fits all solution. And I do not like that. So, what are the things that business owners sometimes don't think about because they haven't had the time to think about it? What have you seen?
Yeah, first, I think that frames things really well. Running a small business takes a lot of bandwidth and the logistics of just making it work day to day. And the biggest lesson that we learn from all of this is that the financial structure and the strategy tends to lag with success. And so success comes with its own challenges and complexity. And so the things that we, will focus on are tax mitigation, both in the short, medium, and long term. But also looking at things like liquidity, retained earnings, and ultimately retirement exit strategies, and maybe also legacy. But again, depending on who you're talking to, there could be very different needs going on there. So in my case, recently someone was looking more at tax mitigation and liquidity, and they wanted to have a bit more on the insurance side, but there certainly wasn't a major drive for legacy. But we're going to talk with clients for whom maybe they've done really well, and legacy is the afterthought, and now they're really thinking of the next generations and making sure that they're in a good place.
Right. And the thing is, clients' needs evolve. What's most important to them today could change, 6 months from now, 7 years from now. And, that's the thing that I like about working with people. I want to build that level of trust that whatever they're concerned about, that, they know that they are going to get that, whatever stage of life they're in, when their needs change, and we can really move forward with what is important to them. And I just think that's so important, because businesses are all different. People are all different. What they want out of life is different. How they want to plan with their estate and their legacy is different. And we can't assume that everybody wants the same thing and put them into nice little neat buckets. It never works that way.
Yeah, I always think back to teaching. I've said this a few times over the last few weeks, but you learn in teaching not everyone is looking to get an A+. And in the same way, you'll work with business owners. They may not want to check every box in the business finance and retirement toolkit, and you've got to acknowledge that, right? You've got to meet them where they are and where their priorities are at. And what we're also learning too is there's a timeline on how to address some of these things. So you might be looking at just, can we set up something to generate some sensible retirement income? But then there's business consulting aspects and cash flow and all kinds of other variables that you may need to solve for, a bit down the line before you can get at some of the other things that that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about, the fact that we have different perspectives. And I like that we attack it from different angles. But how do you think our different perspectives make a difference for a business owner? How do they make things different for a business owner?
I think anyone that's running a business, especially one that's running into complexity or just is naturally complex, is going to want a team of professionals that has a different lens and is looking at their situation from different angles. So mine is very firmly in the life and retirement aspect. Certainly, your background in medicine is invaluable for so many people that you're either in that space directly or even adjacent to it, and that you're going to understand some of the aspects of that complexity. We've talked about it, things like insurance reimbursements and taking on new avenues to generate revenue because of some of the trends that we're seeing in medicine, the things that are hot right now. You're going to understand not only those, what those look like, but whether they're practical to implement. Because as we've seen recently, some people want to get into them, but it might not be the right time.
100%. And then a lot of people will sit there. A lot of business owners have financial advisors, they have accountants, and they have attorneys and all these things. But so they may say, well, what is it that you do? What can you bring to the table? Well, I explain to them that we can actually work with your financial advisors and your CPAs, because often I've seen this, you've seen this too. There are a lot of places where things are still not addressed, So most business owners have those basics, which is good. I mean, you should, if you're a business owner, at least have those couple of things in order: an attorney, an accountant, and a financial advisor. But there's still a lot that is there that often gets overlooked, where we can actually help. So we don't want to take the place of them. We are actually looking to work alongside them and really get the best results for our client. And again, the way I see it is this: the more eyes you have on your business and your life, the better things are. And honestly, I have one personal example, because, I've been set up. I have financial advisors, CPAs, all that stuff as a medical professional. But to be honest, I didn't really know how and when I could really utilize the money that I'd saved. It just had this attitude of just sock it away, and I don't know when I can use it. It's very nebulous.
Yeah,
and
eventually, someday.
Right. Yeah. So what I love is actually went through the process myself to basically understand even just what I had access to and how I can utilize that in the way that I want. And also these things need to be looked at over and over again, because what you think 5 years ago doesn't apply 5 years later. So once a year, you should be kind of updating some things as necessary. So, these are just things that I thought people should really know, because these are the comments that I hear from people. I already got this, and this. And that's fine. Some people are fine with that. But if somebody's looking for yet another angle of something where maybe tax could be mitigated even more effectively, maybe retirement funds could be allocated more in a judicious way for how you want to live your life, those are places that we can definitely help. So I thought that people don't really realize that. I thought it was important to mention.
Very much so. The work that we do is very complementary to existing financial professionals. So, in a lot of ways, I think some of the things that we do are the glue that can pull some different components together. Most people are going to have accounting professionals, but there's a bit of a spectrum from accountants that might be focused more on the compliance side to some that are doing some of the higher level advisory. But even in those cases, there are going to be things that they see that they know should be addressed that maybe aren't in their toolkit. So there's going to be areas where we can help with that. And it's the same even with, financial advisors or people that are more into investment. They may not be working with insurance vehicles or able to structure them in the way that we can. And so I think that, yes, at the end of the day, it's very complementary to the work being done.
100%. And I think that is a really great place to kind of stop. I like to keep things short and sweet.
Sure.
But what I like about this conversation is really gets back to looking at the whole picture rather than making decisions in isolation. I think the more people you have involved, great, the better. Because for business owners, especially, having all the right perspectives around the table and having a sort of like, your financial group together is definitely very, very meaningful. So, I always think, like, I don't care how many people have looked at it. I'd happily have somebody else look at it if they can offer me some more insight to bring to the table. So
absolutely. You know what? I think the one message I'd leave people with is, at least in San Diego, the spirit of professional collaboration is very healthy indeed. And I'm encouraged by, the accountants, the FAs, all kinds of people that I've spoken with that are looking to make sure their clients have the very best. And I'm looking forward to partnering with them, as are you, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And that's how I think it should always be. I mean, if you have financial professionals that don't want to collaborate with each other, I think that should give you a moment of pause.
Yeah, I think that does beg some questions. Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Wes. And then, everybody out there, stay tuned. We're going to be doing these every 2 weeks. We're getting back on track, and we'll see you for the next Wealth Wednesday. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks, Wes. Bye.
Yeah.